This is Birmingham. Welcome to the National Exhibition Centre. It is the 66th British International Motor Show, and some people will do anything to get in.
Mike dices with death outside the National Exhibition Centre, let me welcome you to the first of two programmes from the British International Motor Show. Now, there are 8 vast halls like this one, packed almost to the ceiling with cars, vans, trucks, motoring accessories, indeed anything a motorist might require. There are cars for today, there are cars for tomorrow, there are cars to dream about, there are cars even beyond your wildest dreams, and 1 or 2, I suspect, that you might even be able to afford to buy. There are some 3,000 vehicles squeezed into an exhibition space of 100,000 metres. And if you were to lay all the cars and the trucks end to end, they'd cause a huge traffic jam, which would stretch all the way from here right into the centre of Birmingham, and that's some 9 miles. Now, today is press day, of course, and that's the day when the manufacturers try to outdo each other in grabbing the headlines. So the gin, I suspect, will be flowing around the Jaguars and the vino around the Volvos. And then there are 3 days for the trade to come and have a look, and then on Saturday the show opens for you. And this year the organisers say they're expecting a record year. They hope that 750,000 people will come here to look and to lust.
I suspect the place that most people are going to head for at this motor show, and certainly the executives will, is the Jaguar stand, because it's here that the brilliant Jaguar company are debuting the car that was codenamed XJ40. We heard a lot about it, but we haven't seen a lot of it. This is its first appearance, and what a beautiful car they've come up with. It retains its original name. This is the Jaguar XJ6, but only the name remains. Look at the lines, classic styling here. The interior of it is beautiful. It's all new underneath, a patented suspension system that has given it handling that the motoring press have gone wild about. Competitively priced, £16,500 for what is a basic model, they call it, but there's nothing basic about it at all. This is the Jaguar Sovereign 3.6. Rectangular headlamps distinguish the Sovereign model, and look at the amount of chrome work they've kept on it. They test marketed the car in America during its development to find out what the Americans wanted, and Americans love to have chrome on their cars, so they've kept the chrome. And of course America is the most important marketplace for prestige cars. Jaguar have made a big name for themselves in the past few years there, and they intend to keep that big name. The front end of this, look at the wheels and tyres here. These have been specially developed. They are Get You Home ones, and the car has a Get You Home microprocessor in it. There are 7 little computers in this car controlling the electronics and the engine. One of those is programmed to go into action should a cylinder fail on an engine, anything like that at all. It will get you to the nearest garage by reprogramming the engine management system. This is the top of the range Daimler, £28,500, the most expensive car in the range, but beautifully finished for that price, as you would expect. Connolly hide leather, this one finished in cream, walnut trim on the dashboards, all those traditional Jaguar things. An absolutely gorgeous motor car. Executives are going to flock to see it, but just think of the competition that Jaguar are up against.
And here is the competition, the new BMW 7 Series. It's the first big BMW for 9 years. Now, this is the version that won't be available in this country for another year or so. And it has rather a special feature, which is well exposed over here. It's a big V12 engine, which BMW claim is virtually maintenance-free. All you have to do, they say, is change the filters, the spark plugs, and of course the oil, although goodness knows how you'd find the spark plugs once it's actually inside the car. Now, once the car becomes available in this country, the price, they estimate, will be around £40,000. BMW have a reputation for getting their money's worth out of a model before they change it. So the launch of an all-new car is big news from the Bavarian company. And with 7 Series, they've come up with a large executive car that handles impressively well, even in the wet. On the motorway, the car is very quiet at speed. The aerodynamics make it fast, economical, but stable in a crosswind. Inside, noise levels are remarkably low. The car's luxurious and efficient, with heating, ventilation and air conditioning with passenger and driver controls. The instrument panel carries the signals from the car's 3 microprocessors. It'll warn of any one of 40 faults, from a defunct side light to a worn brake pad. The engine in the 735i is the familiar 3.5-litre 6, but there's a comprehensive engine management computer that controls it. The computer is not preset at the factory. It learns all about its own particular engine and works out the best way to run it throughout the car's life. And the wipers are another first for the motor industry. They're heated at the bottom of the screen to avoid icing. And as you drive faster, they're clamped harder, mechanically, against the screen. Now, Mercedes really can't be ignored if you're talking about executive cars. They virtually mass-produce them, and they have more than half the world's supercar market. Obviously, they target themselves mainly at the Americans and at the Arab states, although they say that they're hoping to appeal to Britain's 20,000 millionaires with this model. It's the new model, it's the top of the S-Series, and it's called the 560. Now, this car costs even more basic than the BMW that we saw. Its price is £47,000. If you want all the extras, which this particular model carries, they'll cost you another £6,000. And that, by the way, is the price of a brand new Sierra. Now, the extras include things like curtains in the back windows, and there's also an enormous boot, which I'll open. It has plenty of room for anything you might care to put in there. And again, I think this is appealing to the Arabs. There's room and a plug for a fridge. It's arguably one of the finest saloon cars in the world.
The thing to have at the Motor Show this year is the video wall. Everywhere you go around here, you're blitzed by television screens and videotapes. It's almost hard to find a real car. That's the Mercedes-Benz stand. This is the no man's land. And over here is Austin Rover Group joining in the battle. This is the very important 200 series. Important because a lot of British customers of Austin Rover Group love this car. It's been facelifted for the Motor Show. It's really a Rover-badged Honda Ballade, but don't tell an Austin Rover Group salesman I told you that. And here we have the Group C class winner in this year's World Endurance Sports Car Championship. A world champion for Austin Rover because the engine in the back of that is an Austin Rover engine. And down here, look at this, the ever-popular Mini Metro. The millionth Mini Metro comes off the production line this week. Further into the stand, I quite expected to see bloodstains on the carpet because of what's been going on at Austin Rover Group recently, but it all looks very prim and proper. The Mini Metro's lined up here, and just around the corner we have the car that really is the Coronation Street of the motor trade. 27 years the Mini has been going. They're still making them. They are still selling them because you still love them. £5,200 for the Mayfair Automatic. And a lot of talk going on here about the Maestros and Montegos. What's going to replace them? There's also a lot of talk about a car that Jenny's with now.
And here's the great white hope for Austin Rover. It's the 800 series. This car is the Sterling, so it's the top of the range. Now, it's the first car that's come right through the design stage in partnership with Honda. And when this car was launched a couple of months ago, it was much admired. It's a very smart car. It's got lots of electronic wizardry, but it was criticised because it's a very expensive car. It costs £19,000.
A small problem there with our videotape. We're live here at the Motor Show at Birmingham, and I suppose we can never do enough about car safety. With me is Murray Mackay, who is the head of the Accident Research Unit at Birmingham, and he's going to tell us all about this amazing system which Audi have brought out for their new Audi 80. It is called the Procon 10 safety system. Murray, can you explain it?
Yes, the way it works is it does two things. First of all, it withdraws the steering wheel from in front of the driver. The steering wheel moves forward. When you have a frontal crash, the engine moves backwards relative to the bulkhead. And round the back of the engine, there's a set of cables. One of them is fixed at this end, runs around that pulley, around this pulley, and goes up to the steering wheel. So that as the engine comes back, the steering wheel goes down, and it moves out of the way of the driver's face. one of the problems that we see in our accident studies with people wearing conventional seatbelts is head strikes and head injuries from the steering wheel itself.
Now there's also another cable which runs along here, you can probably see, and it goes back to the seatbelt system here, and this is designed to pull the seatbelt back in, yes?
That's right, it's connected to the retractor, and when the engine moves back, again, it pulls on this cable, and that winds up the belt on the retractor and tightens the belt. And this means that as the crash is developing, the front seat passengers don't move so far forward, and all the slack with a fur coat or with fat or with incorrect position, that gets taken out, and you avoid hitting structures inside the car.
Right. Well, the interesting thing for me, looking around all the glitter here, is whether the motor manufacturers are actually spending enough on the safety of cars. I mean, certainly Audi seem to have done some research and development here. Are the other manufacturers the same?
Well, from my perspective, there's never enough being spent on safety because it's a major issue. There are major benefits still to be got from better protection of the occupants, from a recognition of the other road users, pedestrians and people that are hit by the exterior of cars. But I think it's true to say that there's a lot of good technology now going into cars. Cars are basically designed by engineers rather than stylists, if you like, and that's good.
Well, Murray, thank you very much indeed for joining us here. That's road safety. One man I know who is very concerned with road safety is the current leader of the World Championship Formula One Grand Prix racing, Nigel Mansell. Well, look at this, literally fresh back from Mexico, or at least I hope you're fresh, because you had a bit of a problem, didn't you? Nigel Mansell, World Championship leader, the food poisoning problem. Can you explain that to us?
Well, I don't know whether it's food poisoning, but it was quite devastating actually, Mike. I didn't really eat for two and a half days and lost close to half a stone in weight.
I thought you took your own food out there so you wouldn't get this sort of problem.
Well, I didn't have the problem until I went out on Murray's birthday party, and it was the next day that I got attacked.
So it was Murray Walker's fault, was it?
Well, I'm blaming you, Murray. Need to blame somebody.
So what actually happened at the start of the race? Did the car jump out of gear?
Well, no, this is the extraordinary thing. Usually, if the gear isn't selected properly, it does jump out of gear, as you know, it kicks back. But I'd selected first, and it stayed in position where the first selection should be. And when I was getting ready with the red light turning to green and let the clutch out, nothing happened, didn't move at all. And the gear shift still stayed in place. And this was what was very confusing, and I thought that the gear had exploded, because sometimes it can. And I tried it several times more, and no first gear, and I just brought it back into second and got away slowly.
And by that time, everybody was halfway towards the end of the race. I mean, they were well off and away.
Yeah, certainly. They were halfway down the first straight, and I think I was literally about 21st position.
And a blistering drive, literally, back up again, because you started cooking the tyres, didn't you?
Yes, we really, it was just a question of keeping one's head down from there on in and doing the best race possible. And I was very pleased to catch my teammate as much as I did at the end, considering the start I gave him. But unfortunately, at the end, I only managed to come fifth for 2 points, which I can't have.
If you don't mind me saying this, that's an ill-fitting suit you're wearing.
I don't
you seem
know.
to have lost an inordinate amount of weight.
Well, it is quite loose, isn't it, Mike? But it just goes to show where all the weights come off. It's that fitted very well before I went away, and literally 10 days now, I've lost an enormous amount of weight.
That's what Mexico has done to you.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to Australia?
Very much so. It's the last race, and whatever happens, it will be all over. And I am still in the lead, got 6 points in the lead, and they've got a tough job to do, and I think I've even got a tougher one.
I know that many people are with you, and you get that feeling as well. Is Nelson Piquet on your Christmas card list this year?
Well, I don't know about this year. He's never been on it.
I think we have a toast for you, Nigel, because I think the whole of Birmingham and most of Britain would like to just wish you all the best. Thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, Mike.
Here's to it. Plastic glasses.
This is the BBC.
Plastic.
aren't the only things on 8 wheels around here. There are more than 20 truck manufacturers displaying their wares, and this DAF space cab, I suppose, demonstrates as well as any the kind of trends that there are in truck design. Now, last year's idea of really carrying around a mobile home with you has gone. There used to be showers and kitchen sinks, but they, it seems, only served to wet the drivers at the times they least wanted to be wet. What you have got now is a comfy, cosy interior. There's overnight heating, and there's 2 berths at the back so that the driver and the co-driver can have a good night's sleep. The only thing that's really new and really different is that you can stand right up inside the cab. Now that means that you can change your clothes easily. You can't have a wash, but make sure you change your clothes with the curtains drawn. Well, everyone knows that Bedford are about to cease their production of trucks in this country, and in fact, as you look around this hall, you can see there are an awful lot of foreign names here. There's Volkswagen, Dodge, Renault, Ford, now partly owned by the Italians. In fact, there are only 2 solely British-owned companies displaying their trucks here today. There's ERF and, of course, Leyland. Now, they're producing very much the trucks of today, but they've also looked ahead 10 years to try and produce the truck of tomorrow, and this is it. It's environmentally friendly, they say, designed to go into city centres and deliver food to supermarkets and that sort of thing. Environmentally friendly because it's very low, so they reckon it won't terrify mums and toddlers. It's also very small, the size actually of a 7.5-ton truck, but designed to carry a load of a truck 3 times its size. Now, it's got a special electronic key, and all I have to do is beam myself into it. So I press the little beam there, press the button here, and open it up, and it slides nice and easily. In I go. Now, whilst this is a concept, just an idea, they do reckon that it could be operational within 5 years. And this sort of electronic idea is really very revolutionary. It doesn't only open the locking system, it also turns on the onboard computer. So that once you get in, the computer's on, and it says, yes, we have a competent driver here. Competent, I hope. It also turns on all the ancillary systems, like the heating, the bum warmer, so you've got a nice warm seat. And then all the driver has to do is worry about steering, braking, and accelerating. The computer tells him all kinds of things. It can work out his route, it can tell him what sort of load he's got on, it can even tell him which supermarket he needs to go to next. Now, in the unlikely event that he might fail to brake in time and he doesn't get his electronic brakes on quite in time, perhaps distracted by the computer, and he may find he's about to hit something, then the whole of the front of the truck is designed to collapse on impact. That's good news for any car driver. So it looks as if this could well be the ultimate in technology, in luxury and safety.
Not only is the trucker's life getting more luxurious, I have to tell you it's also getting easier. It's probably easier to drive than a car. This is Mercedes-Benz Power Shift, and I'll show you exactly what it does, because that may look like a gear shift, but it's actually a switch. Now, I can move off in this simulator. Off, we're going up a hill here through some very pretty countryside. If I want to go up to 2nd gear, I just dip the clutch, press that forward, it finds 2nd gear, and off we go. Into 3rd gear, you have a choice of 16 gears, 8 in the low range, 8 in the high range. I'm working on the high range, we're up to 4th gear at the moment. And we come round this corner, I'll take it up to 5th gear now, should be able to take it, it's a slight gradient. But of course the great thing about all this is we're getting more and more towards the fully automatic truck. In fact, one day in the future, they won't even need a driver.
Well, while Smithy picks himself up and dusts himself down, I've come to something completely different, the 4-wheel drive vehicles. This, I'm sure you recognise, is a Land Rover. They, of course, were the pioneers in the field. But they've changed an awful lot since the old days of the green and rather basic inside. Now they're clean and smart and white and bright and very comfortable inside. This is one of the new vehicles that they've produced for the Motor Show. The other one is at the other side here. The only real difference is the engine that they've put into them. They've replaced the old diesel engine with a turbo diesel. It's a British-made engine, unlike the Italian one that goes into the Range Rover, and they've gained a great deal in performance, although not very much, if anything at all, in economy. And as every Land Rover owner knows, they're not very economical vehicles to drive. And this one on an urban cycle, you're talking about 23, 24 miles to the gallon at the most. Well, also made by Land Rover is the darling of the Green Welly Brigade, the Range Rover. Now, the problem with a car like this is that when it's so popular and so successful, what do you do with it? How do you develop it? Well, they have developed this particular car, especially for the show. It's not on the roads yet. And what the company say they're trying to do is to get rid of that sort of country gent image and try and make it more sporty. Well, they've put in a front air dam, and they've changed the accommodation slightly inside as well. They've put nice leather trims inside and very comfortable Recaro seats. But quite honestly, I don't know why they're trying to change the image, because already you see plenty of Rangers in their Rovers whizzing around Sloane Square on a Saturday afternoon, and this new model has no more room in the back for the shopping. Well, with me now is Virginia Leng, currently world and European champion for three-day eventing, much better known for her horses than for her cars. Virginia, you've just come hot foot from France where you were competing. What were you doing there?
Well, we were competing in a three-day event in the south of France, and I literally have raced back today to have a look at the new Super Trooper, the Suzy Super Trooper.
And in fact, you know the Trooper quite well, don't you?
Oh yes, very well. We've got last year's model, and it's been absolutely fantastic, because within the three-day event we have to cover roads and tracks about 15 kilometres, and she's done us very proud.
And in fact, you and your family have driven her quite long distances, haven't you?
Yes, so far this year, the Suzy's been to Poland and France twice, so the miles are clocking up.
And what's really good about it, I mean, apart from the terrain, is it a comfortable ride as well?
I think that's probably the main feature, is that it is so incredibly comfortable, and it doesn't seem to matter how long you're driving it for, it just keeps going and going, and you feel absolutely fine at the end of the day.
So what sort of state do you arrive in ready for your competition?
Oh, pretty good. And also, it carries so much. I mean, we've had sort of up to 8 people in the Isuzu going around roads and tracks, and she's coped remarkably well.
So what's next on your horse calendar?
Horse calendar, we've just about finished our season, so we're just beginning to wind everything down. I've got to go back this afternoon to see the horses in from France. But that was our last event of the season, so we can relax a little bit now.
And then start practicing again for
That's
next
right.
season.
Yeah.
Virginia, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
In this corner of the NEC, another success story for the British motor industry. Lotus Cars. Now, we know all about their success on the racetracks, those legendary successes of years gone by. We know all about their snazzy sports cars that they've been producing. But did you know that they are now doing research work on behalf of other major motor manufacturers around the world? For instance, this sort of research work. Now, this car is one of Lotus's own ones. This is made of a composite material. The body shell on this has a lifetime guarantee against corrosion, mainly because there's no metal in it. What it's got in it is this, foam. There's the foam in the middle, and there's the composite material around the outside. It's like a glass fibre, carbon fibre construction around there, which gives it immense strength. It also means that you can manufacture it easily and more cheaply than, say, metal. Here's something that Lotus have been working on with their engineering department for Chevrolet. This is going to be the front end of a new Chevrolet. Beautifully smooth, looks like it could actually be pressed steel, but if I whip it round, you'll see that it's all made in one piece, all done in one mould, and it's moulded like a bit of plastic, only it's not plastic, it's this composite material. Down here is the foam rubber filling. Around that is the sandwich, the outer part of the sandwich, the composite material, and the only metal in it are the steel inserts at the top, which will be used to take mounting bolts and so on. They're put in manufacture. Again, oh, we seem to have our gremlins in here tonight. Oh, we can clear them up for tomorrow night's programme. The videotape machine's giving us a few problems from the NEC. We're here on the TVR stand at the moment, and this is hopefully going to be one of the success stories for Britain's sports car industry, which has died a bit of a death since MG went out of production, well, the real MGs went out of production. This is the TVR 420 SEAC. It is a 4.2 litre, 165 mile an hour car. What's it like inside?
Well, it's a bit cramped. I mean, I suppose all sports cars are a bit cramped. What worries me most about it in the passenger seat here is you seem to be awfully close to the front, well, the top of the windscreen here.
Right.
I'm very worried if I had any kind of impacts that I might take the top of my head off. The seats are very comfortable. knees are up a bit. I suspect I'm not really a sports car type, although you are, aren't you?
Well, I used to have a sports car a few years back. I must admit, I don't think I would be investing £29,000 in a car. That's how much this is. Now, the reason why it is so expensive is the interesting construction of the bodywork. You may notice, I mean, you heard me talking about Lotus bodywork just now, about the way they make that with a composite material. This is a non-metallic body. It's a metallic paint finish on it, but it's actually a material called Kevlar. Now, Kevlar was the material which originally found its way into things like bulletproof vests. It's a woven material, and what they do is they add a resin to it and they hand form it. Now, it's a very expensive way of making a car body because you can't actually mass produce it in any way. It's literally hand formed. But if I took a hammer to this car now, the hammer would bounce off and probably do more damage to the hammer than to the car because this material is so strong. So that's the reason why you're paying £29,000 for a car like this. Having said that, it is the only British sports car that is in production in this cabriolet form with the drop top. And over here, I don't know whether you can come round to us over here and take a look at this one. We've got here the hardtop version of the TVR. Again, in the metallic paint finish, a very beautiful car. 4.2 litre engine. I just imagine the fuel consumption on this is somewhere less than 15 miles per gallon, but it really is a beautiful hardtop car. Let's see if we can get inside it. I don't think we can. I think this one is actually locked up at the moment. Take a look round to the front of it, and we can see what's going on here. We're not going round to the front. We won't go round to the front. Right. We're going now to something else completely different. We're going to look at a new Japanese car. This is the Nissan concept car.
Just having a little lie down before the end of the programme in Nissan's new concept car, and it's called the QX. Well, whilst it's called a concept car, it's really more than just an idea, because all the features that they've put into this car are either already in production or they're about to go into production. And the reason I was lying down is that they've really thought about comfort and safety for this car. The passenger seat, when it reclines, has a flat part in the middle which really supports your back, but it keeps the headrest up so that your head's supported, and the bit under the legs here, which always causes that dreadful flopping problem if you're a passenger, stays up and supports you under the knees. The driver's seat they've thought very carefully about too. It's a completely new design. It's hung on a spring so that you do get that bounce that makes you feel reasonably comfortable as you're going along. But they can also produce a hard seat, which is much better for the posture. Now, as far as safety is concerned, the car's got very sophisticated electronics. It's got a laser radar screen, and that will actually tell you if you're coming too close to the car in front. A very useful piece of information to have. The suspension has been specially designed for comfort as well. It self-adjusts, so if you're going over a bumpy road, it'll make itself softer. If you're going along some country lanes and you need it to be harder, it'll adjust itself. There's also intelligent four-wheel drive in the car. Now, that means that if you're going along a slippery surface, the four-wheel drive will adjust itself, and if you then decide, OK, I want to park this car, it'll adjust again, and you'll find it much easier to get into the smallest space. The thing that they're really excited about, though, is the engine of this car. It's got a very heavy front. It's a V6 engine, and it's got ceramic twin turbos. The ceramic obviously makes it much lighter than the traditional type. Now, whether the car will ever go into production quite as it is now, Nissan don't really know, but they say that if it were to go into production, then it would come out rather expensive, round about £50,000.
Steal it, it's a lot easier.
What do you reckon? Do you like it?
Well, it sounds great. The ceramic twin turbo sound like something you put on a bath to me.
I don't really understand what they do anyway.
Have you had a favourite car today at the show?
Yes, I liked the Jaguar, but then I'm a traditionalist anyway. And I also rather like the BMW, so it'd be a toss-up between them, but the Jag's cheaper. I
quite like the human beings. I like Nigel Mansell. I thought he was great for turning up after that race in Mexico. If you've missed a part of tonight's show, just joined us, don't worry, because we're back again tomorrow evening at 5:30 on BBC Two. And tomorrow night we'll take a look around the estate cars, the accessories, the new Volkswagen Golf four-wheel drive, and a whole load of other things. And if you're a real enthusiast, then make sure you watch Top Gear tonight, because there'll be even more detail of the cars that are around at the motor show. That's if you live anywhere but Scotland. In Scotland, I'm afraid, you're going to have to wait till Friday. And join us again on BBC Two tomorrow evening at 5:30. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.